All right, welcome to another episode of the 24th Floor. If you didn't know, this is what we call Showdown Week for high school football. It's getting down to the real versus real at this point.
Yeah, a handful of Tennessee teams remain. We also have teams from Mississippi still in the mix. There have been some upsets that changed the odds of who might walk away with the title. 11 as we stand, Ruben. 7 Tennessee, 4 Mississippi.
Let's split this intro. Let's bring in a man that can help us break it all down. A man you see almost every week.
Yeah, it's a man who, I kid you not, every week I'm always reading his work. He is a very respected name in all of Memphis athletics. Welcome to the program for the first time, Mr. John Varlas, with the Daily Memphian.
Appreciate you a lot, Richard. I'm seeing you more than my wife these days.
Yeah.
At these football games,
I don't know
right?
how she feels about that. You might want to ask her how she feels about that. Let's get right to these football games. Kind of the one we were keeping our eye on really closely right now is Southwind and Collierville. What do you, just in general, thoughts on that game?
I mean, that's going to just be a fun game. Yeah. I think it's going to be a great crowd. I mean, you got two terrific teams, obviously, with Southwind undefeated. For my money, they got the best quarterback in the state, Kelvin Perkins. I mean, he broke the touchdown record last week for a single season, combined rushing and passing touchdowns. He had the record 2 years ago, and he broke his own record. So, I mean, you start with him, obviously, that great offensive line they have, that terrific defense that's allowed the fewest points of any 6A team in the state. And having said that, you got a Collierville team that's absolutely loaded with dudes. I mean, you got Lawrence Aughtry committed to Tulane, Marshall Smith committed to the University of Memphis, a really good O-line. And they're going to have so much confidence after that victory last week against Antioch, which Antioch has Andre Adams, the great quarterback who put up terrific numbers, and Collierville held them to 28 points, but only 2 of those, or only 14 of those were offensive points. The others were defensive points. So great defensive performance last week for Collierville.
Yeah.
How good does it feel that we get a playoff game that's still in this area? Because as with the playoffs comes, we know the field dwindles. And when we were looking at the schedule, it's like, okay, we actually have 2 teams playing each other in the second round. How good do you think that is for the city? How do you think good that is for the travel for the teams, the familiarity that they don't have to go far, like what you oftentimes have to do in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I mean, we were at that game, that Southwind game last week ended before the Collierville game ended, and I know a lot of the Southwind folks were checking their phones, asking me, maybe they were asking you if they knew what was going on at Collierville, because they wanted to not necessarily play Collierville because they think they could beat Collierville, but because it's a shorter trip, it's easier. It takes so much of a burden off Southwind just driving down the street as opposed to driving to Antioch, which they would have done if Antioch had won. So yeah, from a travel perspective, from a fan perspective, I'm expecting a huge crowd, and I think it's just going to be a tremendous atmosphere with a game like that, 2 great teams and so much on the line.
Yeah, I'll be out there Friday night getting a first-hand look at that. I've seen both teams individually, but haven't seen them
love
go.
that Autry kid.
Yeah, I do like Lawrence Autry, but Lil P is the real deal, too. And shout out to Lil P because I was at a youth football game a couple weeks ago, and dude was out there just shaking hands and kissing babies and just hanging out with all the people.
Doing what he needs to do, a true QB1.
Yeah, just shout out to him. Let's move now to Whitehaven.
That's the game I'll be at.
Yes, that's the game where he will be. He has been following the Haven. Thoughts on Whitehaven as they've kind of, I wouldn't say surprised, but they had a little bit of a bump in the road and they've kind of turned things around.
Yeah, I mean, Whitehaven's like Alabama. I mean, you know what you're going to get when you play those guys, and some years may be better than others, and you're right. They had a stretch earlier this year. They lost to Germantown. They lost to Munford in consecutive weeks. Since then, they're undefeated. And their defense is playing very well. They've only allowed 14 points in the last 4 games, and they're scoring pretty prolifically in that stretch as well. Terrific victory last week against Independence.
Yeah.
Quentin Cottrell in the secondary intercepted 2 passes and scored on both of them. Christopher Talley, the terrific running back they got there, he was awesome. Jaden Thomas.
That's his guy.
He runs like Barry.
It's a lot of people's guy. It's a lot of people's guy. I mean, Coach Salisbury always says when you got an offensive line and you can run the ball, you're going to do good things, and that's what they've been able to do. And talking about Kelvin Perkins, I mean, Jaden Thomas is a terrific quarterback as well. He's a veteran. He's been through the wars. Smart kid. He can beat you with his arm and his feet, and just so many advantages that Whitehaven has. They're going to be facing, one of the best teams in the state in Ravenwood.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys are really, really good, and they're undefeated for a reason. I mean, they've got some dudes over there, but it's interesting. Whitehaven and Ravenwood have past playoff history, and Whitehaven certainly has the advantage of being at home and not having to travel. So,
That's true.
We'll see. I mean, if there's a potential for an upset this
might
week,
be it.
it could very well be at Whitehaven.
How much do you think that home crowd plays a factor? Because Whitehaven, I could kind of say that's almost kind of been like my beat this season.
Yeah.
I've been at more Whitehaven games than probably any team, so I've seen them a little bit more. And I must say, that crowd, that atmosphere.
It's that band.
Yeah, it's like, yes, it's that HBCU style band. And it's like, when you're there, it's so much, and I love it a lot. But in saying that, they haven't won the big games at home, aside from last week. They lost to Mumford at home. They lost to Germantown at home. Now, as I've said many times, if you lose, your season's over. So how much do you what do you feel about Whitehaven going into that game?
Well, you're right. They did lose those games, but I really feel like, and I said this on Twitter the other day, I think they've really found something in the last month, whatever that is. Specifically, I don't know, but something's kind of clicked into place for those guys. And, you mentioned being home. I mean, not just the crowd and the home field advantage, but in high school, it's just so much to have to go on the road. To go to a place like Ravenwood, you have to get buses, food, missing school arrangements, all the stuff you have to take into consideration in high school when you make that road trip. So just by the fact of being at home, getting to more or less be on a regular schedule, from that perspective, it's another game, just another Friday night,
Yeah.
In terms of schedule and preparation and all that. So that's just a huge advantage for those guys.
Let's keep going through this a little bit because we don't want to keep you here forever. And if we're not
let's
careful, we
actually
will.
pull up who all we got.
Yeah, so one of the other teams we wanted to talk about was Melrose.
Yeah.
Melrose, a really good team, 10-1 on the year. A team that a lot of people have said has one of the better chances to win state from this side. What are your thoughts on Melrose?
Well, Melrose is getting the game they wanted. They've been pointing all season long to Martin Westview and that great quarterback they have, Graham Simpson, Ty Simpson's brother, the quarterback at Alabama.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Graham is awesome, putting up huge numbers there for Westview, only a sophomore. Like I said, Melrose has wanted this game in some form or fashion. They've been preparing for Martin Westview all season with the anticipation that they might meet, and now they will. It looks like everybody's healthy over there at Melrose. They have a terrific quarterback of their own, Thomas Hefner.
Yeah,
and
he does a little bit of everything, of everything.
He does, and an old football coach. We were watching practice a couple of weeks ago, and an old coach told me that Tavarco Jackson, has the talent to play not just on Saturdays, but maybe on Sundays. That kid is really good.
Man.
So we'll see how that one goes.
Be the next one to come out like Pollard, like Tony Pollard. Now, what Wendell had told me a few weeks ago, I want to put him on this spot.
Yeah.
He said that he thinks that if Melrose had Hefner last year, they would have won. Do you agree with that sentiment?
That's
how much of a difference maker he is, and that's with all due respect to Morrow.
Yeah,
Jamarian Morrow, who is killing it at A&M.
Jamarian Morrow, Ryan Brown. I mean, they had some good skill guys last year. That they really did, and that may be a good point. I mean, Thomas Hefner is just so good, so smart, so mature, accurate. Yeah, I mean, he's you see these kids. Some of them just have it, and they're just kind of different with the way they go about things. And Thomas Hefner is one of those kids. That's a fair point. I don't, it's hard to say. I mean, anything can happen, but. Thomas Hefner is going to make every team he plays for better.
Yeah. Now a question, we want to kind of move a little bit away from the public schools. The last private school that we have remaining in the Memphis area is Lausanne.
Yeah.
Did you expect that we get to this point and Lausanne would be the last team standing? Because it seemed for all the year,
Briarcrest was really kind of leading
the top team.
Yeah.
And then Briarcrest unfortunately fell, last week. And so now we sit here with Lausanne. They've got a good opportunity against Franklin Road Academy. What do you feel about their chances?
They do, and there was certainly some method to Coach Kevin LaCastro's madness in putting the schedule together that he did. Game against Southwind, Christian Brothers, Collierville, Germantown, Martin Westview. All those games, with the intention of preparing his team for right now, and they've played very well in their last two playoff games. Franklin Road Academy is a really good team. They've got a couple of Division I guys, out there. But, having said that, Lausanne is super talented as well. T.J. Jenkins at quarterback, Lawrence Britt, one of the best juniors in the state of Tennessee, Jawell Rogers. I mean, if we didn't have a transfer portal, where colleges recruited from, Jawel Rogers would have 25, 30 offers by now. I mean, he's that good of a player. So, yeah, I like their chances going on the road. This Franklin Road teams kind of run hot and cold, people have told me. Some weeks they show up, some weeks they don't. So if they don't show up, they could be in big trouble.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I was just at Franklin Road Academy this past weekend. And beautiful facility on top of a hill, overlooks Nashville, overlooks Brentwood area while you're playing. I mean, that's going to be a beautiful setting for a Friday night game.
They've got some nice facilities at some of those private schools.
It's like $30,000 a year to go there, though. So just so you know, I don't know if we can pull this up. I know our system's been acting a little wonky, but if we could pull up the full screen that shows the teams that are still remaining, we'll just touch base on them real quick. We've kind of talked about most of them, but one of the teams that we haven't been able to really touch on, and here's the list: Southwind, Collierville, Whitehaven, Melrose, Covington. Middle College is one that we have not had a chance to see, but we know you have.
Yeah, Middle College is a school that, not just in football. Their girls basketball team made the state tournament last year. The boys basketball team made the state tournament a couple of years ago. They just do such a good job with athletics over there, and kind of on the down low. It's, they don't get a lot of publicity. It's a small school, but they're really playing well. They had one of the best defenses in the city statistically throughout the season. They won a tight game last week against Eagleville, a low-scoring game. They scored early in the fourth quarter and were able to hang on for the victory. And that showed me a lot. To win a game under those circumstances against a good team in a tight situation, they're going to have all the confidence in the world go into Fayetteville this week, and I definitely think they have a chance. It's their first time ever in the quarterfinals, and they got a chance to make it to the semis for the first time, I think.
Well, let's go.
Well, tell us how you feel about Covington, because a lot of people have told me that they think Covington is our best area's chance of crowning a state champion, and Covington's not even here in Memphis. So, but you've seen a lot of Covington. It's about, 45 minutes away?
Yeah, it's just up north, whatever.
It's in there, yeah.
So what do you see from them? Because I'm very intrigued about this team.
Well, I like this team. I always have. I mean, the offense they run, it's kind of a weird wing T kind of thing that you don't see a lot of. It's hard to prepare for. It's hard to stop.
You only see Mumford, I think.
Right, and they do what they do very well. They're super well coached. Coach Kirby does a great job. His son Jackson leads the offensive line. He's a two-time All-State kid. Walker Davis, their quarterback, is very good and very proficient in managing that offense. They've got the highest scoring team in the state in terms of points this year. And again, they're playing with a lot of confidence. Their game Friday is going to be a rematch against Dyersburg. They beat Dyersburg during the regular season, so certainly they're going to think they can do that again. And that would put them on a collision course against whoever wins between Melrose and Westview.
Ooh,
so,
that would be fine.
Yeah,
I think Dyersburg Covington's kind of a rivalry, isn't it?
It is. They're in the
there.
same region. And,
you know what they say? It's hard to beat a good team twice.
It is, but if you're Covington and, that's a little different. I mean, those guys are just really good and really efficient at what they do.
All right, now, we know you don't cover Mississippi, but we want to touch base just real quick on some of the teams left on the Mississippi side. You got your hands full with all the Memphis teams. we feel you. So if we can show that right there, you've got Horn Lake, Oxford, and, of course, Oxford's quarterback is Lane Kiffin's son.
Ooh,
so,
Kiffin.
Yeah, Knox Kiffin is the quarterback there at Oxford, and apparently he had a good game last week. And you got Corinth as well, and then
Lake Cormorant.
Yeah,
is that how you pronounce it?
You're asking us.
Lake Cormorant. Tylen Matthews at Lake Cormorant, the running back they have. Well, he's kind of just to give him the ball. His position on the roster is give me the ball.
Give me the ball.
Yeah, he's a terrific player, real game breaker for Lake Cormorant.
Well, for both of y'all, John, you've seen Oxford a bit, or know about Oxford a bit from when they played Collierville.
Yeah, not too much. I wasn't at that game. I mean, I know that Kiffin's kid is a very good quarterback, and they had some success against Collierville, but. Those large Mississippi schools, Oxford, Tupelo, those are quality programs. They get a lot of good kids, and they're well coached, and they do a great job with those guys.
And that was some of the battle tests that Collierville saw, because Collierville lost that game to Oxford. I think it was in overtime when they lost
on a field goal, I think.
And so you look at, we talked about it last week, Collierville had that stretch where they were just playing 3 Mississippi teams in a row, and you come out and I don't think they had a winning record. I think they went maybe 1-2 in that stretch. But then you come out of it like, okay, is Collierville still legit? And then they went on this winning streak, and look at how they are now.
Well, that like we talked about with Lausanne, Collierville, I think that's why one of the reasons they beat Antioch last week is because they had played a much tougher schedule. They played Oxford, they played Horn Lake, they played East Nashville to open the regular season, and East Nashville is a really good 2A team, a smaller team, but a really good one. So I think those games, kind of like Lausanne, had Collierville battle tested last week. I really do.
And Ruben, you got to see Horn Lake in person because when we had the game of the week against DeSoto Central, how do you feel about their chances going into Oxford from what you've seen from Horn Lake?
I didn't get to see as much because I had to get back here to the studio. Super athletic team, big team. I'm talking about some monsters. I think like a 6'7" lineman, something like that. Just some monsters on that team. But I do think that Oxford runs a system where they spread the ball that is you have to be prepared for. And so schematically, and you have a very talented quarterback in Knox, schematically it does make it a little bit tougher sometimes for a defense if you're not used to seeing that type of an offense that moves the ball around the field that much. Now, athletically, they're off the chains, and they had a huge win. I mean, that was a huge win that night.
Yeah, over DeSoto Central.
Yeah, they were the underdog in that game, and
Yeah.
they came out on top. So, all right, John, I know we got to let you go. We've kept you here longer than I promised.
No.
We got to put them on the spot
That's
one
fine.
time.
Once I get rolling, it's hard.
It's hard to go.
But before we let you go, John, I got to put you on the spot, kind of like how Ruben likes to put me on the spot.
Yeah.
Out of all the teams that we've talked about that still remain out of 11, who do you think still makes it to the state championship? Well, don't say who wins it. Who do you think is going to make it to Chattanooga?
Well, whoever can get through that Southwind Collierville game.
You think the winner goes to Chattanooga?
Well, I think they would. I think both of those teams would match up pretty well against either Ravenwood or Whitehaven. So I think the winner of that game has a legit chance. I really like Lausanne if they can catch Franklin Road on one of those down days like we were talking about. Covington is really good. They got to. If they end up playing Westview in the semifinals, they got to get past that mental hurdle. They haven't beaten them in a couple of years, so that's going to be tough. But I think I'm hoping somebody can get through. I love going to Chattanooga. It's a great place to hang out.
Get me there. I don't know if I will be able
So
to
hopefully
get there.
somebody can make it.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, John, we appreciate you, brother. You did a
Ruben,
great job.
Thank you, man.
So
Appreciate
much
it a lot.
information.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard.
Way
Appreciate
more
it, man.
knowledge than me. I'm just a pretty face. He's got all the brains. All right.